Welcome to New Possibilities. I speak truth to power without fear. Today I'm going to talk about the Democratic debate and just let you all know what I thought about it. So, in terms of who actually won the debate, I would have to say that Hillary Clinton won the debate. And I'm not talking about from a substantive perspective, I'm talking about just based on her style, her confidence, her eloquence, and her preparation. She was prepared for all the questions that were thrown her way. She had clever one liners that really grabbed the audience, that really got the audience's attention and support. So, for that reason, just based on her style alone, her preparation alone, she won the debate. And really, it's no competition because the others didn't have as much experience that she had in terms of preparing for these presidential debates. In 2008, she participated in the campaign for presidency before, so she's very familiar with the format. And she seemed to be like a fish in water. It was her natural element. So for that reason, she dominated the debate. And I noticed how she was able to deflect a lot of questions, a lot of very important questions that really dealt with her credibility as a candidate. One question dealt with the emails. I like the way she handled that, by essentially deflecting and trying to bring the discussion back to other issues. And sadly, Bernie Sanders, unfortunately, he helped her do so by basically saying, well, there are bigger issues or more important issues that we need to be focused on. And while that is true, the whole email issue does deal with credibility. It does raise questions. It does raise ethical questions, serious questions that should be answered. And I just don't think that it was a smart political move for Bernie Sanders to really help her out in that section of the debate. It didn't really, it made him look good for a second. It got him a lot of positive feedback. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really help his campaign. I think that that was not, the best move, politically speaking. So I think that she won, and just overall, based on her style. And it's important to understand that politics is not just about the issues. It's not just about like substantive things. Those things are the most important to me. But we have to understand that when you're dealing with the masses of the people, they don't research, they don't look into things on the same level that someone like myself who studied politics does. They don't do it on that same level. So they respond based on personality, based on attitude, and all of those things. Those things are very important. So for that reason, she won the debate. But in terms of substance, Bernie Sanders is really the candidate that I would pick if I had to vote today. So far, I haven't made a decision about which candidate I support. I know a couple of things, though. I know that for one, I would never vote for any of those Republican candidates. And it's not just because they're Republicans, it's because of what the Republican Party has become nowadays. It seems that in order to be a successful candidate in that party, you have to be the most intolerant, you have to be the most ignorant, you have to be hard on minorities, so-called minorities. So for that reason, I don't even consider any of those Republican candidates. Um, and it's unfortunate. I mean, it's like our choices are very limited in this election. So I like Bernie Sanders. I like his positions on the issues. I like the fact that he really deals with the class contradictions that exist in the society between the have-nots and the haves, between the workers and the middle class people and the elite in this country. I like how he talks about those issues, how he talks about corporations and Wall Street dominating the political process. Those issues are very important. And I was really impressed with his response to the Black Lives Matter question. Um, he talked about institutionalized racism. He talked about Sandra Bland. He talked about a lot of important matters that deal with race. So I commend him for that, and I just think that he had one of the best answers. Also, Hillary Clinton, she had an answer that dealt with other things, besides just the criminal justice matters. She talked about schools. She talked about opportunity and things like that. She also talked about the problem of mass incarceration. But the thing that people have to understand, and many people know this, is documented in Michelle Alexander's book, The New Jim Crow. She talks about how many of the policies of the Clinton administration led to the mass incarceration that we see in this country, where many African Americans are locked up for nonviolent drug offenses, because that war on drugs basically became a war on black people. So the Clinton administration is responsible for a lot of that incarceration that we see in our community. And this is something that Bill Clinton has acknowledged. So for me, I can't support a candidate who supported policies that led to mass incarceration. I simply can't do it. I also can't support a candidate that supported the policies that led to the economic collapse in this country. Deregulation of Wall Street, deregulation of these banks that allowed them to consolidate to the point where they were so-called too big to fail. And those are policies that the Clinton administration supported and Hillary Clinton supported at the time as well. So for that reason, for those reasons, I couldn't possibly vote for Hillary Clinton. It's just not in me. I'll never vote for her, but I think that she performed the best in terms of this debate. Also, another issue came up during this debate, and that was the issue of affirmative action. They asked Webb about his position on affirmative action, because he's on record condemning affirmative action or opposing affirmative action. He's on record basically suggesting that affirmative action is discrimination against white people. I cannot support a candidate who opposes affirmative action. And I'm going to explain to you why. Affirmative action paved the way for many African Americans like myself to go to graduate school, to become doctors and lawyers and professors and other types of professionals. It opened the door. It made it possible for us to have a diverse college atmosphere where you have people of all different kinds of backgrounds. Affirmative action made that possible. And affirmative action is under attack right now. There's a case that's going back before the Supreme Court. That's Fisher versus the University of Texas. And that case may decide that there is no, that affirmative action is unconstitutional. That's a possibility. The issue of affirmative action will be before the court. And so the next president will possibly decide who will be on the Supreme Court. They may appoint several judges that will have an impact on whether or not affirmative action remains the law of the land, whether or not affirmative action remains legal. So that's a very important issue. And the fact that Webb doesn't support affirmative action, that right there X him out as a candidate. And I'm going to talk about a couple of the other candidates now. Chafee, I couldn't possibly vote for him because he's a weak candidate. He's weak all around. He doesn't stand for anything. He talked about how, they raised a question about him switching parties. I think he switched parties like 3 times. You need somebody that's consistent, somebody that's stable, somebody that's focused, someone with a set of core principles. And you can't be that kind of person if you switch from party to party and you have no consistency. And he was very weak in his answers to a lot of the questions. Very weak. He talked about how he actually voted. They asked him about a bill that he voted for that made it easier for the banks to consolidate. And he had some weak excuse about why he voted the way he voted. And his response basically suggested that he didn't know what he was voting on. He didn't know what he was doing. He was just going along with what was popular. That, the fact that most people were supporting him, he went along with it. You don't need to have that kind of person as a president. You need someone who is knowledgeable, somebody who is strong, someone who is decisive. And he doesn't seem to be any of that. So for that reason, he's a non-factor. He shouldn't have even been on the stage with the other candidates. Now, in terms of Martin O'Malley, I'm going to tell you why I can't vote for him for president. The primary reason why I can't vote for him is because of his zero tolerance policy that he implemented here in Baltimore, where they arrested hundreds of innocent people under this policy. Many of them were African American. Most of them were African American. Essentially, it was similar to New York's stop and frisk policy, where you had oppressive policing against minority communities. And it is that kind of policing that has been blamed for the riots that took place here in Baltimore, that has been blamed for the hostility between the community and the police department. So I couldn't possibly vote for him. Also, this man is just a career politician. His whole life has basically been spent in politics. You need someone that isn't just a career politician. This man went from being city council to being mayor to being governor. And I don't think he's earned a promotion to president. I don't even think he earned a promotion to be governor of this state. Baltimore was not substantially improved under Martin O'Malley. He simply used Baltimore as a stepping stone to higher office. And I can't respect that. We need to have people in place that have principles, not career politicians. And that's what many of these people on the stage represent. Career politicians that go along with the status quo. And Hillary Clinton is a prime example of that. This woman goes with the wind. She changes her position based on what is politically expedient. She is like a chameleon. She changes colors with her environment. She speaks one way before one group, another way before another. She sees that one issue is more popular than the next issue, so she switches her position. And they asked her about that, and she had a clever way of weaseling out of it. But the fact of the matter is that woman is a calculating political animal. And that's what makes her appear to be disingenuous, not authentic, somebody that's a phony, completely fake. And that's what she is. And for those, some of those reasons, I couldn't support her candidacy.